It's now 7 p.m. and I'll call the Tuesday, January 5th, 2021 Board of Selectmen meeting to order. I will note that all three selectmen are present, and I will begin with the approval of minutes.
Motion to approve the 12:15:20 minutes.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on these minutes?
Just under selectmen comments, the way this is written, it looks like it was Ken that had mentioned about the serious accidents near the Mass border on 395.
Oh, okay,
And I believe that was me that brought that up.
right. Okay, so what we would need to do is potentially add
We would
before
need to
that
just-
statement, put Suzanne Witkowski.
Yeah, because, well, she's got it kind of listed up by, yeah, I guess that's how we would need to do it. It kind of reads to me like Ken was bringing it up,
Right,
and I know it was me.
okay. So we have that one adjustment.
And
Yeah,
then,
I'm good with
Natalie?
that. Yeah, just move the sentence.
yeah, right.
And
Yeah,
Dottie's
the
giving us the thumbs up on that, so.
Sentence is just out of alignment.
Any other discussion? Or points?
I'm not seeing anything. I didn't, nothing popped off the page anyway.
For me, neither, so.
Okay.
So all in favor of approving those minutes with that one adjustment and selectmen comments, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion passes. Okay, correspondence. We did receive, well, actually we were CC'd on a letter to Renee Waldron, Town Clerk, from the Registrar of Voters. I'm going to read it just so that the public can hear what was written. It says, "Dear Ms. Waldron, due to the unavailability of a suitable location within the geographic limits of the district, the polling place for Thompson District 1 is hereby designated as the Thompson Public Library, Louis P. Fosher Community Center, 934 Riverside Drive, North Grovenondale, Connecticut, 06255. Best regards, Eileen Witkowski and Francis McGarry, Registrar of Voters." That was dated December 31st. According to the state statute, we do have to publish it to newspaper as a legal notice. So that is going out in the next day. We only had 10 days to get it done, which left us having to go with the Norwich Bulletin. So it will be published in the Norwich Bulletin tomorrow or the next day. So within that 10-day time frame that we had to get it published.
Okay.
Okay. And at this point, we'll move on to agenda item. Oh, did either selectman have any other correspondence?
I don't have anything.
No.
No. I did receive a message this morning from Karen Durlack. She's has a request about potentially for the Trails Committee acquiring a trailer. She's requesting that it be registered and insured under the town. This is something I would like to discuss tonight potentially, because their next meeting is January 11th, and I at least wanted it to come before the board before their meeting so that we could weigh in, or possibly attend their meeting on the 11th to hear their thoughts behind it. What do you and Ken, what do you and Suzanne think about possibly adding it to the agenda tonight, or should we just wait and maybe attend their meeting?
I think it might be better to attend their meeting to gather all the information and hear it from them firsthand.
Okay,
I'm good with that.
okay, all right.
So that's the 11th.
That's the 11th, yes. I'm assuming it'll be via Zoom. So I did reach out to the insurance company, our insurance company, and the attorney, so I do have some guidance from them that I'll share with you guys before the meeting. I'll have Kelly send you the information that I received.
I think we also received an email from, and I don't have it in front of me, but Mrs. Bolte about the Girl Scouts and asking to have that put on their agenda.
Yeah, I was gonna have that on the next agenda because it wasn't until March.
I agree, but I think it needs to be put in the correspondence, doesn't it?
Ooh, well, because it was already published, I thought, the only reason I brought this up was because it just came today and their meeting was coming up. I was gonna add it to the correspondence for next,
Could go
I mean,
either
it
way.
could be.
It's gonna be on the agenda.
It'll be on the agenda for
Anyway.
the January 19th meeting. And it'll be listed as correspondence as well.
Sure,
Okay, because that came in today as well. I think it was
yes,
today.
or last night.
Oh, okay,
Either way, as
Yeah.
long as it's listed as correspondence somewhere.
right, got it. We will make sure that it's both. Okay, with that, we'll move on to item number 3, selectmen comments. Any selectmen comments at this time?
There was another accident on both sides of the road on 395
Okay.
during this last little bit of snow that we had.
You know
Um,
the exact location?
It's in between right over the cross, the Mass line, Connecticut line from Mass to about Putnam. And
Headed
this time
southbound?
this was both sides,
Oh, okay.
north and south.
There was a northbound accident and a southbound accident?
Exactly, from what I was understanding. And
Friday night or Sunday?
when was the last snow that we just had?
We had a little bit on Sunday night.
Was it Sunday night?
Yeah.
Sunday
Then we
night.
had the
was.
rain that
Yes,
turned
it
into
was
pretty-
Sunday night.
Yep.
And it was north and south. One of them involved like 5 vehicles.
Okay.
Nobody, I don't think any major injuries from what I understand, but I think it's something that we need to look into.
Okay. All right. Any other comments?
Nothing.
Okay, I have a couple. The first is I think it was December 22nd or 23rd. Tira, myself, and a few other individuals received notice, letter of commitment to fund the sidewalk project, $2.1 million. So that was a nice little Christmas present for the town of Thompson. So that sidewalk project should be moving forward by this summer. So that's exciting news.
That is.
Additionally, just before on Christmas, a couple days before Christmas Eve, I reached out to Chuck Lee from Dam Safety at Deep just to see if he could help us out with the North Grosvenor Pond Dam. With the melting we were going to be facing and the amount of rain that we were anticipating, the snow melt and then the amount of rain, there was some concern about the dam being inspected. Chuck Lee was able to get in touch with Scott Shepard from Centerville Bank. Scott was very responsive. He had their engineers out there on Christmas Eve. And additionally, they went back out on the Saturday after the storm, so the day after Christmas Day, and they did a full inspection. They did send me a report, and I will forward that report to both you and Ken, Suzanne. So I just got that tonight, and I didn't have a chance to print it out or share it. But it's really good news. Centerville has been very responsive, and they're taking a proactive stance and making sure that this dam is going to be repaired properly. So, so that's good news. They still need to form an emergency action plan, and hopefully they'll be doing that within the next couple months, if not sooner. We are getting to work on forming requests for proposals for the Buckley Hill Road project, the design, so that we can apply for federal funding this coming November. And we're also going to be putting out the RFP for the under 20-foot bridge inspections. J&D Engineering will be helping us, guide us with writing those RFPs. And they're hoping to have that done by the end of January. So we can go out to bid and hopefully have some numbers to firm numbers for when we finalize the budget.
Sure.
Let's see, Tira has also submitted, our town planner, for a BRIC grant to assist with funding the engineering work for repairs at Langer's Pond Dam. BRIC stands for Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities. It is a FEMA grant, so we're hoping to get some assistance to help cover the cost of the engineering work that needs to be done to eventually move to make the repairs to that dam. That was all I had. The one thing I did want to just really take a moment and acknowledge the loss of 2 people in our community. The first being Chief Randy Daggett from KB Ambulance Corps. He died just before Christmas. And then also the loss of Deputy Chief Patrick Dragon from East Brooklyn Fire Department. He lost his battle with COVID. So I just want to acknowledge they were two great people in the community, and the community is at a loss without them. So, and that's all I have for tonight for Selectmen's comments. Moving on to agenda item 4, citizen comments. Any citizen comments this evening? Okay, one last call. You can up John Rice.
Amy, adding to your list, I just want to acknowledge the losing of Al Smat,
Oh,
which was
yes.
a longtime teacher at the school.
Yes.
And just a real good guy. I
Yep.
just want to put him on that list also. He'll be sorely missed by the community.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, John.
Okay. Any other citizen comments? Okay, hearing and seeing none, we will move on to agenda item 5. The resignation of Barbara Roach from Inland Wetlands Commission.
Motion to accept the resignation with regrets.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this resignation? Hearing none, all in favor of accepting the resignation of Barbara Roach from Inland Wetlands Commission with regret, say aye.
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 Aye, opposed, and that motion passes. Agenda item 6, the appointment of Vernon Butler as an alternate to the Agriculture Commission. Did you both receive the application? It just came in on Monday.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
It had been approved at an Ag Commission meeting. So it's just coming before us as a formality.
All right, I'll make the motion to appoint Vernon Butler as an alternate to the Agricultural Commission.
And I'll second it.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion on this applicant? All in favor of appointing Vernon Butler as an alternate to the Agriculture Commission, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, and that appointment passes. All right, on to agenda item 7, Affordable Housing Plan, RFP. It was about a year ago, and Tira's here to share information on this. About a year ago, I think it was, right, Tira? You received a $15,000 grant for assistance with this?
It was at the end of the last fiscal year, so
Okay.
late June or early July.
Okay,
So we've been sitting on the award, and you guys signed actually 2 resolutions as a part of that process. I'm sure you'll remember.
Yep.
So we've been sitting on this to issue the RFP for the consultant, waiting on the Department of Housing Affordable Housing Guidebook, which was supposed to have been out by September. It came out actually the week before Christmas. So the terms of the grant, it's a fiscal year grant, which means we have through June of this year to, expend those funds, which are essentially going to be a lump sum to whatever consultant we end up hiring. So I did author a quick RFP. Amy and Marie have seen it, and I don't know if you've sent it to your colleagues, although I assume you have. If you want, I do have it and can bring it up on the screen.
Yeah.
Only if you need to.
yeah,
You want that?
Yeah, why don't we? Because
I haven't
for
seen
some
it.
reason,
I
I
haven't
don't
seen
think, I feel like I didn't see it, but I must have. But let me just give you sharing. capability. Okay, you should be able to share.
Okay, let's find it here. Let me know when you've got that.
Okay, looks like it's set up.
Yeah, let me make this bigger though. Oh, come on. System's just being really slow here. There we go. Is that more legible?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. Okay, very good. Yeah, so pretty straightforward. I based it off a couple of other similar RFPs that have been floating around. Just a little background on the nature of this grant. When it was announced, excuse me, it was fairly obvious that the Department of Housing was pretty desperate to get this money out there to help towns. The application form was super basic. It was essentially first come, first serve. And they are really just trying to get folks in compliance with the fact that the towns are actually supposed to have these and update them every 5 years with a deadline for first adoption by the end of 2022. So I expect they'll be doing a similar round for the towns that didn't get caught up in the first round. So I've got the guidebook. I can forward that to any of you all as well. And this is what we're asking for: review of the new zoning regulations, the POCD, which I know we're going to discuss as well this evening, preliminary evaluation of the town's potential to add affordable housing, with primary attention paid to the districts served by public utilities, which in the case of Thompson is water and sewer. Close consultation with me and with a designated affordable housing subcommittee of the PZC. I think I'm actually going to adjust this and just call it a working group. When we discussed this at PZC, it wasn't clear that they thought that this was specifically in their exact wheelhouse, when in fact we have a housing authority, we've got MISRAC, we've got a number of other boards and committees and commissions that work with these issues. Facilitation of at least one community engagement workshop prior to the development of the plan, development of the final draft document consistent with the requirements noted above, facilitation of at least one community engagement workshop following the presentation of the draft for public comment, and then to facilitate a public hearing according to the requirements of 830J, which is the authorizing statute for the whole schmear. So, like I say, pretty basic. I've seen some of these written out where they were pages and pages, but, a number of towns as well that just have these very sort of cut and dried, this is all we want. The folks doing this work, this consulting work in the state, are certainly aware of these grants and know that they're all for the same amount of money. They're all a $15,000 award. So, proposed fees may not exceed, and all work must be completed on or before the 30th of June, and a rough deadline. So I'm hoping to get this published this coming Friday with whatever adjustments you guys might find appropriate. Deadline for proposals by the end of the month, opening of bids at the following BOS meeting, selection of consultants, start date, end date. I did leave a message for Deborah Flanagan this morning. She didn't get back to me, and I had emailed her before the holiday as well, saying, obviously, as the director of the Housing Authority, I'd like her to be, a big part of this process, including in the selection of the consultant. And in terms of who is going to be on the working group, I would suggest, and I think it's open to some discussion, at the very least, that members of PZC, Housing Authority, MISRAC, and EDC have representation, because the discussion of affordable housing, has come up in all of those groups to varying extents. but I think it would be probably wise to, cast that net out for interested parties as widely as we can within the time limits, because, there may be people who want to participate in that process who wouldn't normally be caught in. So that's really it. Like I say, pretty cut and dried. I guess the point of bringing it up tonight is just to get you guys to approve going out to RFP by the end of the week with whatever comments you need to make on the document.
Tara, is this sort of a boilerplate type RFP that other towns have used?
I think I based this one on Canton's. I looked at a few,
Yep.
and I found there's the clearest. It's not a 100% lift, but it's pretty well modeled on theirs.
Okay.
I would have liked this before the meeting.
I believe
take-
it was sent out last week.
Yeah, I'll take that responsibility for not getting it out to you. So,
So you're looking for us to vote on this, to send this out to RFP?
Correct. I wouldn't like to lose too much time on it again, because we're now in a 6-month window because it took DOH so long to get their guidelines out.
Can you, I hate not having it in front of me to be able to read it, but I don't want to put it off for the next meeting.
If this was based on other towns, it's covering the information that I'm sure is required by the state to fulfill what we need to do. So I'll make a motion that we send this RFP out.
and I'll second Ken's motion. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I do not have a problem approving it. I just really would like to have a copy of it before I say yes. I really don't like being put under that kind of, not being able to read it line for line. I'm not comfortable with it, but we have a motion and a second on the floor, so.
Well, might I suggest you guys can approve it conditionally to comments being received? I mean, if I'm publishing it by Friday, that gives me time to amend it if there's any, real substantive things that need to change in there. I mean, it would only take me a minute to do that.
So if we are approving the RFP and there are amendments to it, does it need to come back to us?
Well, it's a good question.
I mean, we're approving the process of going out to RFP.
Right.
So
So technically, we're not approving the content. We're just approving giving the permission, or so to speak, in poor terms, to go out to bid.
correct.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, just Tara, if you can just email me a copy.
Yeah, sure, I can do that tomorrow morning, first thing.
That would be great, Tara.
Yeah, thank you, Tara. So motion and a second on motions on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor of going to RFP for the affordable housing plan?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? And that motion passes.
And Tara, I would love to be involved with your working committee.
Okay, sure.
I work in affordable housing. That's what I do.
Oh, excellent then.
Yeah,
Suzanne, you'll make a great asset. Absolutely.
thank you.
All right, so moving on to agenda item 8, legal notice of town meeting. I do not have a legal notice. With the holidays, I think our attorney and the bond attorney, the bond counsel they were a little backed up. But I do want to discuss it a little bit. As you know, we have to go back to referendum for the school roof project due to an issue with the timeline between when the legal notice was published and then when the referendum actually took place. So the first thing I wanted to bring up was Ken Slater did work on a new, I think I sent that to you later today, late today. And I'm going to share my screen. He did work on two new, let me just see if I can bring it up here. What's that one? Two
Oh,
new
yes.
ordinances based on our discussions in the past. This first one is the current budget. And I would like to, because we've discussed it multiple times as a board, the potential of eliminating the bifurcated budget and combining the two budgets again. So what that would look like is the section of the ordinance that bifurcates the budget would be eliminated completely. And that's what Ken Slater had made as a suggestion. That would be on the town meeting, the town meeting that we're going to be having. The second ordinance that he put together for me, let me just find that one, relates to the timeline for referenda notices. So currently the state statute gives us a timeline of 30 days. As you can see down here, whereas it has been determined that a mandatory 30-day timeline between publication of notice of referendum may be unnecessary. Oh, sorry, it's 30 days, but being that that might be unnecessarily long, this ordinance would allow for us to have 21 days from the time of the printing of the legal notice to referendum. So,
Yeah, the only thing that I see in that
mhm.
is the very first line where it says earlier in the 21st day. It's kind of a tongue-tying sentence,
Okay.
the way it reads. So
It looks like he probably pulled that directly from the statute.
it could be.
Right.
It just says no referendum shall be held earlier in the 21st day following the day on which the town. But it just seems to be very tongue-tying the way it reads.
Okay, so,
And just run it by him that it's correct the way it is.
okay.
That's all. It's just that in just kind of throws that sentence out a little bit.
Yeah. Suzanne, what do you think of this being added? I kind of think it gives guidance to
Yeah,
when the referendum can be held that we haven't had in our ordinances in the past.
yeah, no, I think that's very important to put in, given the mistake that was made.
Right. So those two items would be included in the legal notice for town meeting.
I do have an issue with the
Mhm.
the bifurcation and putting it back.
Okay.
Uh,
Because we've had multiple meetings.
and we've
that
had, and I've
We've all been in
expressed-
favor of it.
well, I was in favor of looking at the language and how it would look.
Okay.
I still have my concerns, especially with the pandemic being the way it is right now, that it's gotten worse. And to make this change could be a heck of a, for this particular, budget coming up for May, there could be a lot of repercussions and fallout from it. And I don't think it's the time. I think we ought to wait until after this next budget is done and then pursue it. But with the pandemic, the lack of interest, people not getting out, I can see a lot of repercussions from this. Even though it is the right thing to do, it is one budget. But I think the timing right now, like I said, it could be a lot of repercussions.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with you. I think with Zoom, we had such a large audience and getting the word out and the communication. I really think that we've done a great job with getting the word out, getting communication. During this pandemic, when nobody, knew the technology piece of it and how that was going to play out, people have really done a great job. Either our IT or Amy or Marie or the town with figuring out a way for us to get information out to people while they're sitting at home. And I think that we had such a great attendance at the last town meeting that I think this is a good opportunity for people to be able to attend a meeting, stay at home, stay safe, and be part of the discussion. And I think that it's cost this town so much money in referendums. This is the time to do it. I don't want to cost the town anymore with the budgets as slim as they are and hard to squeeze out money that's not there and the money that's had to been put out for keeping the townspeople safe. I think this is one way we can save the town people money
In the long run.
in the long run.
Yeah.
And I think I really feel the town has become very, very separated since the budgets have been separated. And I feel like this is helping to kind of mold or bring the town together, to bring us back together as one town.
I would absolutely agree. I mean, that's why I've continued to pursue it. I did speak to Melinda. We can still utilize the auditorium and do a hybrid format. I was thinking of pushing it maybe closer to mid-February, mid to late February. I hate to wait that long on the school roof project, but let me just ask, hey, John Rice?
Yes.
When do you foresee work starting at the school?
A lot
Is it going to be,
depends-
is it
lot
really going to
depend-
not be till summer?
Well, depends on what, if the kids are in school or not in school. It's just so much in the air. We're just waiting. What's holding us up now is the bond council, of course,
Right.
they authorized, we can't do anything with the contract until we get the money.
Right.
And watching the weather reports and everything else, it's supposed to be a mild winter. And if the kids aren't in school, if they go hybrid at home, which it seems like they're starting to lean towards that, maybe the rest of the year, I'm not talking for Thompson, but just for what I see on the news, maybe we'll be starting early, that March time thing, March, April, maybe. So I think if you're hoping to get this all resolved by, in March, in the middle of March, I think that would be sufficient.
Okay,
It's just, I think we, the building committee, will have Ty and Bond notify the winning bidder of the situation, so we can kind of tentatively, because we awarded the bid to him.
right,
It's just a matter when he can get here, but I don't want him on site until we have the money to
right.
start paying him when he starts doing things on property.
Well, technically, if we got the legal notice out by first week in February,
Yeah,
we could be doing a vote by first week in March,
yeah,
actually.
yeah, I think that would be all right, Amy.
Yeah. And town meeting, maybe that first or second week in February.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right, well, let me work on it a little bit more with legal.
Yeah.
And I'll propose 2 legal notices for the board's approval. At that,
And as long as they're separate items, as I mentioned, we'll vote on the bonding, then vote on
Right.
those.
the vote for the bonding will be just to go to
This is the
referendum.
Right,
And the other, if we have the ordinances on there, they'll be a separate vote.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
And
Any other thoughts on this?
not on these two ordinances, but we had also discussed the abatement.
Yeah,
the
and I just have to look into that a little bit more. I think that we all agreed when I look back at what the minutes, that either way, there was some disparity between the volunteers because some owned more property than others. And I didn't get a clear answer. I couldn't find a clear answer that the amount had increased with the state.
That I'm not sure of. That was actually something I had not heard, or if that was a lot, if it was up to us to be able to manipulate that number.
Right. I was
Something
searching
that I
for.
would like to really move forward with for this town meeting, to have that ordinance revised. I was hoping that that was going to be, I thought it was to my understanding that we were going to have that revised and put on this.
I thought we needed more information, and I haven't actually been able to
We-
find anything stating that the amounts had increased.
No,
Well, even if we do what
Paul,
Paul
Paul.
had suggested, we still need a good dollar figure, which we have to put into our budget process.
Right.
So,
And the only thing, I mean, to play
But-
devil's advocate, the only thing that stood out, or as I questioned and researched it a little bit more, is sometimes with the tax office, it's a good collection tool. You know what I'm saying? If
No.
you get, so if someone's wants to receive their $1,000,
they have to pay their taxes.
they have to pay their taxes.
But that's not what the purpose of that. That is to an appreciation for their volunteering.
But that's in the ordinance.
Right.
But I'm saying maybe that's what we need to be looking at, because it is not about whether they've paid their taxes or not. It's about the fact that they volunteered to run into a burning house, or they're, you know, an EMS person doing their volunteer time. It's not to penalize them for not paying their taxes.
Well, I think it's important for individuals to pay their taxes, though.
But that's a whole separate issue.
Whether they're a
But that's a
hero,
whole
they're a hero,
separate-
but they still have to pay taxes.
But that's a whole separate issue. One does not go along with the other, in my opinion. These
Well,
guys,
because I think that's a sign of,
they're not doing it for the abatement. And if they're not paying their taxes, or if their taxes are in the rears, then they don't get the abatement. Maybe that's how it works, or the reduction. I forgot what we had called it. But we're thanking them for their service. And by saying, I don't think that's appropriate to look at it that way.
So would we have language that said that you're not eligible for the,
Taxes must be current or something to that effect? You
well,
could
that's the
put
way it
that
is now, so there's really no difference.
But they're not getting taxed on it. That's the whole thing. That's the whole reason for changing it, is right now they're paying taxes.
They're paying income tax.
Taxes out of money that they've been taxed out of their paycheck. And then we're giving it back to them, but we're taking taxes out of it. So they're really being double taxed on it.
Okay.
It's the little incentive that we can do for the people that keep us safe, and especially during this pandemic.
Right. Well, I agree there.
Sorry, Ken, I didn't give you a chance to speak, and I know you.
No, yeah, and I agree. It could be something put into the new ordinance, depending on what it looks like, that their taxes are paid out of that allotment, and, you know, the rest goes to them. I mean, there's different avenues that we can try and address that.
Let me work on that diligently. In the next week, I'll have a definite answer. I'll have more information for you guys before the end of this week.
Okay.
I'll get something
At
from
least
I hadn't talked to the attorney about it at this point, but I'll confer with him on it and see if he can find answers that I haven't been able to find. I was just avoiding using him for that. So,
Okay.
but I'm more than happy to.
I mean, it's a small way that we can thank these individuals, and for the service and what they do for our community.
So still from your point of view, it's still the matter that they're taxed on the income.
Yes,
Okay.
we, I forget the term that we had used. It's not an allotment. It's not an abatement. It's a
tax exemption.
Thank you, Ken. I just could not.
That's exactly what Paul was trying to say when he was looking at how Killingly and you know, like the veterans exemption that we can write in. So that totally takes away the income tax.
The income tax.
And when we, you know, look at the veterans exemption, is there a clause that says that they have to have their taxes paid up to date?
I don't know.
You know what I'm getting at? So we should.
I can find that out too.
Side of it, it's not, you know, it's about thanking them, whether they pay their taxes or not. It's about thanking them.
But I think the veterans, if I'm correct, if they're eligible, it automatically comes off the top of their bill.
And
Right.
that's how this should be.
Yeah, and it could very well be done that way.
I mean, legally, I'm not, it was just something that I had talked with Paul, the assessor, about, and he knows that a lot of the other towns do it that way. I don't know if he had a chance to really look into it or not, but this is one that I think that we really need to.
Oh, I think we're all in agreement, Suzanne.
I do
It's
too.
something that we need to do, and just got to find the best avenue to do it where the benefit is there to the utmost.
At one point, I was able to look up on the internet the statute on that for the state of Connecticut, or the guideline. I don't remember what it was, but the dollar amount I think was like $2,000. But I don't know if that's negotiable, if that's something that we can manipulate.
See, I didn't see that it was 2,000. I thought that it was still 1,000, but unless I was looking at an old statute, but I thought I was in the current section.
Well, maybe I'm wrong that it was 1,000, not 2,000.
Right.
I will look. I'll Google it and see if I can find anything on the state website.
Mhm.
And if anything, if Paul knows or if anyone else knows. I'm sure there's a better way to look it up than to just Google it.
Right.
Somebody with more understanding of that kind of thing then.
Okay, any other further discussion? Okay. Right, so we'll move to agenda item 9, adoption of plan of conservation and development. I know Suzanne, you picked up a hard copy. Ken, you've been pretty active through the process.
Yeah, I read it
yeah.
as well.
And Tira, did you want to explain the timeline that you have in place for the selectmen making comments because I'm sure they're not quite ready to make any comments or suggestions.
No, I wasn't expecting any tonight, although
Yeah.
if there are any, that's fine, obviously.
Right.
So all credit to the 30 people who worked on this over the last 5 months. We have this Moby Dick of a plan of conservation and development. The good news is it's a pretty robust document. The bad news is I misread the statutory language around the adoption. I had intended for this to be adopted by PZC at their last meeting. Cindy pointed out to me, and John Rice independently pointed out to Amy where I misread the statute, and it was a bonehead mistake, but there it is. So we have a timeline of 65 days to a public hearing. That 65 days started ticking when it was forwarded to the two of you by Amy, and when I also forwarded it to NECOG. At which point the PZC then has the opportunity to act to adopt it. So in practical terms, because we have a finished draft, that gives this body and the PZC, who is the approving body, or the final approving body, the opportunity for more comment based on, I guess you could call it a semi-final draft. So as Amy pointed out, she and Ken have, Amy's listened in on a bunch, and Ken participated in a handful of the discussions on some of the specific subtopics. So Suzanne, you would be the one who would be reading this for the first time. But if I can get any potential comments back from the three of you by your next meeting on the 19th, and then from the PZC commissioners by their January meeting on the 25th, and they've also already received an email from Chairman Perotti, laying that out for them. Then I can take whatever final comments or suggestions I get from those two boards, feather them into the document to whatever extent they can be, which doesn't mean that everything can be, but I've had pretty good luck adjusting the document to people's observations so far, so I have no reason to believe I wouldn't be able to do so as well. Post it for public comment on the 29th of January. So fundamentally, what gets posted on the 29th is a locked draft for public comment. And I would treat that in a similar way to what we did with the zoning regulations. I haven't worked exactly through that, if we're going to have some additional discussion groups or just open it to public general comment. I'm leaning towards the latter, but we can discuss that with PZC or with you guys on the 19th again. And then the public hearing would be that date on 65 days out, which is the 4th of March. The PZC has the option then to act on that public hearing and vote to adopt. We do want to get this done as quickly as possible because we are, still behind the 8 ball in terms of being in compliance with the statutes that govern the adoption of the POCD. So we don't want to be sort of in that gray area any longer than we have to be. And that's really that. At this point, it's a time frame and hitting the marks.
And Tara, correct me if I'm wrong, but not having the POCD in place puts us in jeopardy with certain grants, correct? Grant funding, or was I incorrect about that?
Jeopardy is a strong word.
Okay. Okay.
It is a pain in the neck.
Okay.
And it might not be a totally inappropriate word because the state has the option to withhold discretionary funding.
Okay.
In practice, what happens is that waiver letter that you have signed, or the letter requesting waivers that you've signed, the general one that says we are aware that we're out of compliance, we're working on it, has to be sent every time I or anybody else within the municipal structure applies for discretionary state funding. And it has to be done for each of those grant applications with a separate cover letter for each of those grants. Carolyn had to go through that for conservation, for something for the cemeteries. Renee had to go through something like that for something coming out of the town clerk's office. In practice, they've been pretty good so far, but we've also told them that it was going to be adopted by the end of 2020. So now we're sort of over the hump. Now, we don't want to look bad, like we're just ignoring what we've said we're going to do. I don't really anticipate that's going to be much of a problem, but no sense in testing that.
Mm-hmm.
No, but we have a document to show them that we're in the final stages of approval.
Yeah, we do. And that draft that you guys have has been sent to the secretary at the OPM as well. So they are aware. They've been very good. And I have no reason to believe that they will be anything less than very good continuing on. But again, it's not something I'd like to test and get the wrong answer.
So can I ask because I have not been part of this process. Tara, where does your first of all, I applaud the 30 some odd people that were involved in putting this together because it is quite a document. It is basically a book. And I can tell a lot of time and effort went into putting this together. And I'm just curious where the information has come from to pull all these pieces together.
Well, it's pretty once you get into the reading of it, it's pretty extensively footnoted and cited.
Oh, okay. Because I
and
started
there's lots of sources in the back. There's some appendices with some actual data tables from a few statewide sources. Each subsection has other references. I understand that you're reading it on paper for comment. It is actually better to read it online in a sense that a lot of stuff is hyperlinked and you can go right to the studies or the reports that are cited. But they are cited throughout. So, and too many to name here, but all over the place.
And just what kind of feedback are you looking for from us? Like I was going to say a highlighter and go through it and anything, but it's too large of a document. I can read it, word for word verbatim, but you're not looking.
Well, I wouldn't worry about things like typos. Since I've gained this accidental, extra time that I didn't particularly one. I'm still using it. I can still go through it for typos, formatting. It's, questions that any of you or any of the PZC members may have about, what does this mean? How does this relate? It's your opportunity as the Board of Selectmen to weigh in. And again, Ken and Amy, opted to join the process as it was going on, but you should still all have that chance. Same thing with the PZC commissioners. There were a handful who were very active, and some who weren't active at all, and some who dropped in here and there. But to have the final draft for comment, I think is probably the most useful. It actually reads fairly quickly for a large document. Or maybe I just say that because I've read it so many times, but.
No, it's pretty easy reading the guide. It is, and it lays it out very well.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you have, and I know you do because I remember when Amy sent it over to the two of you after I sent her the final draft. Although you are reading and highlighting the hard copy, if you do want to look at any of the citations, open the PDF and click through the hyperlinks.
Yeah,
and a lot of that stuff's really, really interesting anyway. So, sort of entertaining to read.
And just starting to read it in the first couple of pages, it was very interesting. So, and looking through it, glancing, I can tell it's going to be a good read.
Yeah, the working group was fantastic. I could not have asked for a better group of people. I mean, 5 months of weekly meetings, 2 hours at a shot, going over and over and over, not everybody on every session, but, everybody on a lot of sessions, and really, really excellent content in there. Rich Benoit provided some excellent information on road work. Joey Martino provided a ton of community history. It goes on and on. It was a really, really, although sort of stressful in that it was going so fast, but very sort of satisfying process.
Excellent. So you're hoping that we will have any comments or anything that regarding this, you're hoping for an approval by our next meeting?
Yes.
Which
is
yes.
the 19th.
Tara, we don't necessarily need to approve the document. We just have to have received it to make comments leading up to the
So
adoption by planning and
Oh,
zoning.
okay.
Correct?
So the statute's a little funny.
Right.
It does say that the governing body, in this case the Board of Selectmen, does need to approve,
Oh,
but
okay.
the PZC doesn't have to pay any attention to that.
Okay.
So your approval is a technicality. If the board fails to approve it, then there is a burden on the PZC that they have to have like a 2/3, a supermajority in order for them
Okay.
to approve it.
You're
But
right.
the Board of Selectmen is not the approving body per se.
Okay. But our stamp of approval
Goes a long way.
goes along.
It's helpful.
Yeah.
It's very helpful.
Got it. Thanks for that clarification. As I looked at the notes, I saw that. So it's not really cut and dry.
No, it is not, as Rich Roberts said. Oh, that actually brings up one more thing. But it is not, as Rich Roberts said, a work of art, that statute. Now, I'm glad that you actually said that, because it reminded me that Rich had, I say offered, obviously it would be billable hours, but did ask if we would like him to read it. I would like him to do that, but I would want the Board of Selectmen also to be comfortable with the fact that we're going to get billed hours on that.
I mean, I think a set of eyes. I mean, what do we think for billable hours, Terry? You think you might spend 2-3 hours on it?
I'd have to go back and look at some of the charges for the PZC, because he read that document multiple times.
Right.
Yeah, it's probably a couple of hours of straight reading for him. It's probably going to be a couple $100.
I mean, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, as long as you
I
guys
always-
are comfortable
I
with it,
don't
I'll
know
ask you.
about the other two board members. I'm
Yeah,
all in favor of
this
an
is-
attorney's opinion.
This is something that we're gonna do every 10 years, so if you figure out half a dozen hours over a 10-year period, it comes down to nothing in cost. So,
Suzanne, what do you think?
I mean, I would agree with you if you're comfortable with having, you're talking about the legal counsel look
Right,
at it, then can't hurt. And,
No.
and as, you know, as Ken's saying, it's, you know, if you divide it by 10 years, it's money well spent.
right.
Yeah. And Rich has been really fantastic as well. His commentary on the rewrite of the zoning regulations was invaluable. This is not a regulatory document, it's a guidance document. So the burden is lower in that sense, but, you know, obviously he's seen these documents before, and I would definitely value his opinion.
Right, and I would say if you have him read it, Tara, if you can share his comments with with this board, that would be great.
Sure. Sure.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm good with it.
all right. Any other discussion on this topic?
Amy, can I make a comment, please?
Sure, John.
This is I just wondering, you know, the public has to be aware of this 35 days to be posted on the internet.
Mhm.
How is that gonna be done? Is that gonna be,
It's good. I'm assuming there'll be a link on our webpage.
and it'll have the whole 100+ pages on it for them to read
Yes,
and make comment to somebody? Okay. No, I was just reading the statute again, and I
Right.
just don't want to miss that one,
yeah, no, it will definitely be published on the website.
that we
And
didn't
then
do
there's
that.
two, I think it was two newspaper notices as well about the
Yes.
public
That
hearing.
sounds
Yeah.
right off the top
Yeah.
of my head.
Yes. Oh. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other discussion from board members? Comments?
I'm good.
Okay, so we'll move on to agenda item 10, land donation to Wyndham Trust. As was discussed at our November 4th Board of Selectmen meeting, we had kind of agreed that the consensus was, this is what's read here, the consensus was to refer the matter of the donation of the land to Planning and Zoning for review. At last month's Planning and Zoning meeting, the commission did approve disposing of the property, potentially meaning donating the land to Wyndham Land Trust. Now it's come back to us for further discussion from this board. And there was a letter that should have been in your packet from Carolyn Werge. And I'll just read that so that everybody knows what she had written to us. Hi, Amy. Thank you for informing me that PZC is in favor of the transfer of 6. So they had initially asked for 7. So they approved 6 town-owned lots in the Bull Hill area to the Wyndham Land Trust. Wyndham Land Trust has long been an ally of conservation in Thompson and all of Wyndham County. I think the next step should be as follows, depending on the consensus of the board. If members of the board are comfortable with moving forward with the transfer, the issue should move to town meeting. I think it would be helpful to present the public with the original letter the Thompson Conservation Commission sent to the Board of Selectmen dated October 5th, 2020, with the map and chart attached and a copy of the relevant minutes from the PZC's December 2020 meeting. If members of this board are not comfortable with donating the lots at this time, perhaps the town can make an offer in writing expressing a desire to transfer ownership of the 6 lots to Wyndham Land Trust now in exchange for a piece of land in the future. I think it would be important to define what we want to exchange. For example, a specific number of acres of the Randolph parcel, which abuts the Bull Hill lots. So in the letter, I'm sorry, I ad-libbed and I shouldn't have. It said, which abuts the town's 69.7 acre recreational facility. If Wyndham Land Trust is able to acquire the Randolph property, because at this point, we don't think they've acquired it, in the future, the offer should include the town's proposed purpose for the land, to enhance the town's recreational facility at the end of Messier Road. That offer could go to Wyndham Land Trust for a response, and if Wyndham Land Trust would commit to something acceptable to the board, then the town could move forward with the transfer. These are my thoughts at this point. I hope this is helpful to the board members in your next discussion on this issue. Thank you, Carolyn Werge, Conservation Officer. So I know it's something I think Ken had suggested, the potential. I think drafting the letter and stating a specific offer. The Randolph property, I believe, is 117 acres. The 6 parcels that we're potentially donating don't come up to 117 acres. So I'm assuming it would have to be a swap. That 117 acre parcel might have to be carved out. A certain portion would have to be carved out. Because I would think an equal acre for acre might be an acceptable offer that we could have drawn up.
And the purpose of the Randolph property would be?
The idea that was brought up by Carolyn and Ken had also mentioned it was the potential to help in the repair of the drainage.
So before we draft a letter, should we look into this to see if there's any merit to that? Because we certainly don't want to take on, I mean, Bull Hill is not even used for the most part right now
Right.
because of the drainage issue.
Right.
So are we just taking on more swampland? You know what I'm saying? To put it in poor terms, I don't want to take on more land that's not going to get used.
Well, I mean,
Well,
initially in our conversation,
Benefit to-
I was ready just to give up the seven parcels, knowing that
Exactly.
Wyndham Land Trust does such a fine job of conserving property. They become stewards of the land. So it's a good thing. But I thought there was consensus between you and Ken that, well, maybe we shouldn't just dispose of the land.
I just think there's no rush. We need to really make sure this is what we want to do. And if we want, Randolph land, then we need to make sure there's a purpose or a reason for it, because we could just donate all the parcels at once, or we could do a couple at a time. We could do an exchange for some. So it's kind of like, there's no reason to jump on it and have this, donation done or offers made, or until we have exhausted all of our research avenues that we, it sounds like the PZC didn't have any problem with donating it. They couldn't see another purpose for it.
Well, I think it was it was mentioned at their meeting about, if I recall, and Amy was there as well as John, that, the latter part of what Carolyn put down, that, that could always be a possibility,
Right.
and that we should explore those options. But I thought the P&Z had said, yeah, the Board of Selectmen can dispose of the property. They had no problem with Wyndham Land Trust, and we could move forward at any time that we felt it was appropriate. I mean, John's there, he can comment.
John, do you want to comment?
Yes, of course, The John Linke is the one, the commissioner that brought that up, the possibility of swapping some land if needed at the Bull Hill Recreation Place. And that other parcel of land that we excluded was 20 acres, and it was deeded in part because it's a wood lot. It really doesn't have any access, is that the wood would be used for the poor. And I guess probably the selectmen would be looking into that deed to see if we could really transfer it or give it away. I don't know if you had that discussion, Amy.
I did not yet, because only the 6 parcels at this point were up.
Yeah, but I think in our meeting, we indicated we'd be in favor of disposing of it if it's legally possible to do that,
Okay.
according to that deed, then when it was deeded to the town. I'd have to look at the minutes of our meeting, but I know that was discussed. We wanted to get rid of not get rid of, but transfer all 7 lots. If that number 1 lot would be acceptable to town legalese.
I think we had received a copy of that deed, or did I?
Yeah,
Okay, Carolyn,
Yeah,
yeah,
we had it.
right?
Right,
Because I remember reading
we had
that.
all the property cards and the deeds.
Was that like the poor farm or something? Is that why it was?
no, my,
It's up near the Ravenel Farm.
right, it joined that, because I looked into that, as I mentioned, years ago with Carolyn. Because the Ravenel, when he passed away, the daughters wanted to do something with the town to give it to the town, but anyway, by their farm. But the thing of it is that the wording in there is that the wood lot would be for the poor. So I guess Ken would have to decipher that.
Right.
But again, it's over 100 years old, so I think a lot of these things that's on deeds become null and void. But that'd be a question to ask them. But the commission is in favor of disposing of it to the Wyndham Land Trust if it's legally can be done.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, just getting back to the Randolph property, if you remember at the Board of Selectmen meeting, I did mention that I reached out to Steve Adams, and he was supposed to mention, this idea, in general to them, but I haven't heard anything back. But with the holidays and the pandemic, that's not surprising. But, we can't predict, what the future is going to bring. Pandemic is plain proof of what the town may or may not need, or how we wish to expand a little bit with recreation. So, it could be something that, hey, maybe it's only 5 acres out of, and they get 40. Have no idea until, we see if they're even willing to consider it. And then we'd have to take a look-see at the abutting property if it would help us at all. But
So
it's worth looking into.
who is the director, or I'm not sure the title of the Wyndham Land property? I know the attorney is Steve, but.
That is correct. Oh, actually, one of the
who's
board of
contact person for that?
one of the board of directors is he just left conservation. He moved to Putnam. God, I can't think of his name.
Ron Tillis?
Ron Till, yeah, Ron Till.
Tillin?
Yes,
Oh, he's on the
Wyndham Land Trust.
board?
He was one of the big proprietors behind that, wasn't he? One of the big.
Yes.
He was.
So what I.
If I may, guys, I think the person who is the local steward for that property is a gentleman named Andy Rosnitzky. Karen Durlack from Trails can tell you the liaison for Bull Hill for sure.
Okay, I'm just wondering if we could have a conversation with them, or have a conversation with Steve, sort of a roundtable discussion as to whether they want the property, or I'm sure they want the property, but how something like that would look to trade property, how.
Yeah, let's have a discussion. Doesn't hurt to talk about it.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm making too big of a deal out of it, then tell me. If this is something that we should just move forward with, if the two of you feel that way, I'm willing to agree to it as well. But if you feel like we've done our homework on this and we're ready to move forward with either donating it or, bargaining with them, then I would be in favor of doing that as well.
I would just assume take conservation in Carolyn's initial request, which would be to donate the property to Wyndham Land Trust for conservation purposes, and just be done with that. But that would be my opinion.
You have my opinion.
Ken, you're still thinking that we should try to do an exchange for some of the
Yeah,
Randolph?
I think it's worth having a conversation.
Okay.
You know, the town is growing. One of our main assets is recreation in all forms. If you read the POCD, you know, there's a big section on trails and, you know, other land conservation, and whatever we can do to aid the, you know, the Wyndham Land Trust and the town is something that we should look at.
And originally, when we had talked last time, that was kind of my thought, was if we could use any of it to our benefit for the soccer fields, because that's one of my things is I'd like to see the soccer fields repaired and brought to restored and brought to a point of being able to be used again. So I think that having a conversation would be good.
Okay. All right. So let's set up that conversation and I mean, I think Carolyn's advice was that we should have some type of idea in mind as far as what we'd be thinking of, though. We think
We may not know till the end of a conversation, though. That's my,
Okay.
we may not be there.
Yeah, I haven't walked that, you know, other than being up to the soccer field. So
Mhm.
Me either. And if the weather was better, I would say, could we somehow do
A field trip.
a field trip?
All right.
And
Well, let me
maybe-
talk to Carolyn again, and we'll reach out to Wyndham Land Trust and start a conversation. Then,
sounds good.
if that's
I
seems
think
like you and Ken are leaning that way, Suzanne. So I'm fine with that as well.
okay.
So
I'd like to see that happen. Thank you.
all right, let's make it happen then. All right. Any other discussion on this?
No,
Okay, and wait, Tara had a. Okay.
what's that?
Tara was saying that we could, her and I could discuss the land swap in, at some point tomorrow. So we can pull her into the conversation as well.
Okay.
All right. Agenda item 11, other business. Is there any other business for the board at this time?
I don't have anything.
Nothing.
Okay, then I don't either. Moving on to agenda item 12, citizen comments. Are there any citizen comments? Come on, John. Have a citizen comment?
Good meeting, very productive. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Any other citizen comments at this time? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to tax refunds, agenda item 13. I'll make a motion that we refund ACAR Leasing LTD $337.06. Reed M. Mayo, $49.18, and Joanne Lovett, $9.84, for a total of $396.08.
Second.
Second.
Oh.
Go
You can
ahead.
have- you can have it, Ken.
We have a motion. Dottie, you can decide who had the second. Any discussion on this item?
No.
All in favor of refunding those individuals a total of $396.08, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes. I'll make a motion that we adjourn at 8:13 PM.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Good night.
Stay,
Good night.
stay safe.